So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we'll get back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, January 27th. Hope everyone's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, January 27th. It is yet another day packed full of sports. Starting tonight, the Nets are on. A lot of good NHL games. A lot of good NBA games tonight. Rangers lose last night. Kentucky loses last night. Neither team having a good season. The Rangers lose once again for the fourth straight game in a row. We take another loss. We are now statistically, we are now the worst team in the NHL, only in front of the Ottawa Senators. We are more than likely the worst team in the NHL statistically. Now, if we would have went up against the Ottawa Senators, I think we could have very well beat them. But statistically, we might be one of the worst teams in the NFL, or the NHL. And we're not off to a good start. We lose once again. It was a 1-point game. We lose 3-2. Once again, 4 straight losses. All 4 of those losses have came by 1 goal. And you want to know what else? 3 of those 4 losses, we have blown leads. Another blown lead last night. We blew a 2-1 lead. They came back to 3-2, scored 2 unanswered goals. We could not win the game. Once again, we blow another lead. You just cannot possibly doing that. If you want to succeed in the National Hockey League, you cannot be possibly every single game, day in and day out, night in and night out, be blowing leads like that. Is it completely unacceptable, and it's very frustrating as a fan because this team is putting together some really good moments. This team has some really good flashes. Keandre Miller scored his first goal of his career last night. Proud to see that. He's a bright future. He had a very good game. He dominated Sidney Crosby in the 2 games we played against the Penguins. Sidney Crosby was quiet. You didn't hear his name once. He scored a goal last night. Keandre Miller's been playing very well. Alexis Lafreniere, although he didn't put anything in the stat sheet, he had a lot of really good shots and goals, had a lot of really nice passes, and really thought his puck control last night was a lot more controlled than a couple of the other games. And Chris Kreider scored a goal. Pavel Buchnevich had another great game. Adam Fox, some of the stuff he did last night won't go into the stat book. He had a couple really good saves, meaning one of the saves one of the times we hit the puck, it ran up the boards. He saved it from going off sides, so he was able to get it instead of all of us having to go off, and he having going in front there. So, it was pretty big, but, obviously we're going to have to figure out a way to get going because 1-4-1 right now is not good. And as for Kentucky, too, we take another loss as well. We had a good fight. I wasn't really going into that game. I didn't really expect us to win. I didn't expect us really to do anything, and we had some good fight in that game. But Kentucky in the March Madness, it's not looking good for us, to be honest. We're 5-10 right now. March Madness, I think, we're not like officially eliminated, but it's tough. You look at our schedule, it's tough coming up, and then that you very well we could fall to 5-13, 5-15, and then I think our only way is to win the SEC tournament, because if you win your conference tournament, you're automatically in the March Madness. I think that's our only way of making it to March Madness. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, big news yesterday in the MLB world. These are the topics for today. Huge news in the MLB world. We got JT Realmuto signs back with the Phillies. He re-signs with the Phillies. A huge contract, a 5-year, $155.5 million deal. JT Realmuto will remain in Philadelphia for yet another year. This will be his 3rd season with the team. Past 2 seasons has been one of the best, if not the best catcher in the MLB there. He re-signs a contract. I'll tell you why that's big for the Phillies and how that could really shake up the NL East. So he re-signs with the Phillies. And then, I'll tell you how that impacts and stuff. And like I said, I agree with this deal 100%. I wanted the Yankees to look at him. We didn't. and I wanted us to go look at him, us to try to get him. We didn't, obviously, and the Mets obviously missed out on him as well. So there's really one big free agent remaining, and that is a guy named Trevor Bauer. So he's the only one remaining. So far, the Mets are the front runners to get him, although it seems like the Mets have been the front runners on every single free agent out there. So I don't believe it until I see him sign with them. So we'll see. But the JT Realmuto signs a huge contract, $155.5 million deal. He remains with the Phillies. Then we have NBA MVP power rankings. I'm going to give you my top 5 players right now who I think could possibly be in the running for MVP. I'll give you the 5 of them, read off the stats, tell you why I put them where I did, give you the 5 of them. This is not my final one. I'll probably do these throughout the year, but as it stands through the first, I guess you could say, first part, 15, 20 games of the season, so far I'm going to give you who I think who I think has the best shot, who I think's been playing the best, and I'll give you the top 5. And then, I might give you some dark horses, but for the most part, I really want to hone in onto the top 5 and really the core players that I think could possibly definitely be in the running and are in the running right now. So we'll do that. Then, like always, we'll finish off the podcast with college basketball, NHL, NBA game picks, and then your usual New York sports report and fantasy basketball and hockey advice. Basketball, I'm losing. Hockey, I'm currently winning. So hopefully I come back in basketball, and hockey, hopefully I hang on to the lead. We'll get into all that later on in the podcast. So yeah. So with all that being said, this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So report, JT Realmuto, Phillies agreed to a 5-year, $155.5 million contract in free agency. So the Philadelphia Phillies have officially re-signed their catcher, who I think is one of the best catchers in the entire MLB. Now, you've got guys out there like Molina and Perez and Posey and some guys like that. You've got guys out there. I think James McCann, who signed with the Mets, I think he's a very good catcher. Do I think he's a top 5, top 10? Do I think he's on Molina and Perez and Posey's level and Realmuto's level? Yeah. No, I mean, no, he's not there, but he's close. He's close. I mean, he's probably top 15, top 20. But you got your core catchers, right? You got Realmuto, you've got Molina, you got Perez. But I'll tell you what, something about Realmuto he is just unbelievable. It's almost like everything he does is just insane. And he obviously came along with the Phillies. I'll kind of give you a little bit about him. And I want to get into a little bit of Mets stuff, because anytime I could kind of make fun of the Mets a little bit here, I always can. This is just yet another free agent the New York Mets missed out on. Now, the Mets did sign James McCann, the catcher. Obviously, they signed to a big 4-year deal. So they kind of got removed from the JT Realmuto sweepstakes. But there was still that small glimmer of hope or glimmer of rumors that people were saying, oh, McCann's going to be their backup. They're going to spend big money on Realmuto. But obviously, they didn't sign him. But Realmuto obviously used to play with the Marlins. He came over them. He came over to the Phillies 2 seasons ago. Obviously, he played 1 year with the Phillies, and then obviously last season he played with the Phillies again. Both seasons had very successful years. You could probably make the argument, and not even really could just make the argument. Really, all you have to do is look at the numbers. He's probably had his 2 best years of his career with the Philadelphia Phillies. So it would make sense why he would want to come back to Philadelphia. Now, I did put in my buy or sell rumors. I had a buy or sell rumors, and I will prove it right here, and I've always done this. I will tell you when I'm wrong. Buy or sell rumors, I put JT Realmuto going back to the Phillies. I sold that rumor. I did. I did not personally think that JT Realmuto was going to go back to the Philadelphia Phillies. I sold that rumor. Now, obviously, some of them obviously were right and stuff, but I got that rumor wrong. I really was not expecting Realmuto to re-sign with the Philadelphia Phillies, and here's my reason why. Now, of course, you get into the point where at the beginning of free agency, you obviously, as a player, you're looking for the big cash. You're obviously looking for the big money. You're looking for the, this, and this. You're looking for all the big money. You're looking to be the highest paid. You're looking to be like, oh yeah, look at me. I've got all the money in the world. But as free agency goes along, and as some teams, you might start to realize that some teams, like the Mets, they settled on James McCann. They decided to do a lower contract, just settle on him, get him, and move on. when teams like that start to do that, teams like that start to settle on some of these smaller players, sometimes these free agents are kind of get to the point where they're a little bit like anxious. They're like, okay, just get me on a team. Just get me on a team. We're less than a month away from spring training. Actually, we're exactly a month away today from spring training starting. So, obviously, you're like, oh, anxious. You're a little anxious. You're like, okay, it's almost February. We almost pitch, and especially being a catcher, that they're the ones who report first. Pitchers and catchers, right around the corner, they will report. Sometimes these players get a little anxious, and they're like, okay, just get me on my team. They tell their agent, just get me on. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit. They don't just tell your agent, get me on a team right now. They obviously still want to get the money. They still want the contract they want. But sometimes they start to settle a little bit. So this is why I do feel like he did sign with the Phillies. Now, I think Real Muto, it was smart of him to definitely test free agency. Obviously, he ended up just going back to the Phillies, so he didn't go to another team. Here's the reason why I did not think Real Muto was going to go to the Phillies. And like I said, I want to read an article. I want to get into stats. There's so much about this story. So I'm going to break it down. But here's why I didn't think he was going to back to the Phillies. A couple weeks ago, the Phillies offered him a 2-year, like a 3-4 year something. I don't know. It was some small. It wasn't a 5-year deal. It was like a 2-year, like $80 million. Like it was like $40 million a year. It was something like huge. And he declined it. And he would have became like a huge paid catcher. He declined it. And I was really, 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 really questioning why he declined that contract. And that's actually the next day, that's when I did my buy or sell rumors. Because I was thinking, if you're going to be one of the highest paid catchers, you're going to get that big of a deal, and you're still going to sit here and say that you're going to decline that deal. It didn't make much sense to me. So that was part of it, why I did not think he was going to resign. Another part of it was because he's been so focused on testing free agency, wanting to see what other teams are available, this, and this. And he really tested free agency. I mean, there was about 5-6 teams in there that had people going to him. At the beginning of free agency, I thought he was either going to go to the Mets or the Blue Jays. But after the Mets signed him, or the Mets signed James McCann, I thought that he was going to go to the Blue Jays. Obviously, I was wrong. Like I said, I'm right, but I'm also wrong about many things. So, I mean, I like to be right and stuff. But obviously, I was wrong about this. And I did not expect him to re-sign here just because after that big contract, he declined it. And it really seemed like he wanted to go to another team. Now, I knew the Yankees were out of the equation because the Yankees gave him a pretty big deal. The Yankees actually gave him an offer. It wasn't too talked about because Real Muto shot it down quickly. And he actually came out publicly and said, I think on like an interview he had, that he doesn't like New York, like he doesn't want to play for the team. I guess just all the pressure and stuff, he just would rather not play there. I guess he's not a big fan of the whole city, the New York, the Yankees, the atmosphere, the whole, just all, because you got to realize, like, and I don't want to get too off a topic with this, but you got to realize too, New York athletes is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be a New York athlete or a New York head coach. It's a lot of pressure. New York's one of the biggest markets in all of sports, and that's why I love talking about New York sports. And it's one of the biggest markets. The media's tough. You're talked about a lot. If you're doing bad, you're gonna hear it, but if you're doing good, you're gonna also hear it. And I don't think he wanted all that pressure on him, so he declined the Yankees offer. But I was really surprised to see him go back to the Phillies, especially for how long it took. For a guy the Phillies offered him many contracts through this, and he finds a way to resign. But I'll tell you what, I feel like both players are winners, and I'll tell you both sides are winners here. I think obviously the Phillies are winners because they're getting what I think is one of the best, most consistent catchers in the MLB. One of the best, most consistent catchers I've seen in the past couple of years in JT Realmuto, getting him back. You're also getting a leader back. And JT Realmuto, too, is going to a team. He says how he loves the atmosphere. He loves Philadelphia. He loves the city. He loves playing for the team. He loves the organization. He loves the coach and Girardi and stuff and things like that. He said that so many times. It just, when he kept on declining some of their offers, it felt like maybe he had his mind set on something else. But he loves it. He said it so many times that he loves his Philadelphia. He loves Girardi. Obviously Girardi's the coach over there. Obviously he says that he's always felt like that connection. I was thinking about that the other day too. I was talking to someone about the deal. You kind of like he felt that connection with Girardi because Girardi used to be a catcher, obviously, with the Yankees, and he had coached the Yankees. He kind of feels that connection with Girardi as well, being that they're both catchers. He says how much he likes the organization, and all that stuff. He says how, it's really like it's almost like been home for him. He's been staying there. He moved his family there and all that stuff. So it's a win-win for both sides. It's a win for the Phillies because they're getting one heck of a player back, and it's a win for for Real Muto because this is, I think at the end of the day, this is really where he wanted to be. There might have been some drama. There might have been some rumors. There might have been some people like me that went out there that came onto the podcast and said, I don't foresee him going there. There might have been some of that. But deep down, I think this whole time, he had to have known, I want to return to Philadelphia. I like the city. I like the atmosphere. I like the fans. I like the organization. And obviously, he's played. I mean, when he was with the Marlins, he was pretty good. But something about ever since he stepped into Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, something about him just changed. The guy is just unbelievable. And he's proven that it wasn't a one-year wonder. And I'm a big believer in I'm a big person in that one-year wonders are true. A lot of times people don't believe that, but it's true. I'm a big person in don't give the guy a contract right away, which is why I was a little nervous when the Yankees gave, obviously when the Yankees gave Urshela a little bit more of the money, because when he joined the team, he was very good that 1 year. Then we gave him the extension. I was like, okay, I don't want it to be a one-year wonder. He proven that it wasn't. I've said this so many times about different players, but even Real Muto, I think that's why the Phillies waited, because they signed him. He had a great year his first year with the team, and then people were wondering, can he continue it? And last year, I think he might have, looking at the numbers, he might have had an even better year last year than he did his first year. So he's only improving, and that's when you know it wasn't a one-year wonder. So he deserves all this money. He really does. And you know how I am with baseball. I love the long ball. I love home runs. I love it. I love to see a 460-foot bomb I love to see a 500-foot bomb leave the stadium every once in a while. But what I really love about baseball, and I love baseball. It's one of my favorite sports. I mean, it might be. And I love baseball. I love talking about it, love watching it. I love it. One of my favorite parts of the game is when a contact player, can just get contact, get on base, score runs, get RBIs, and be a setup guy in the lineup. And also be defensively a beast on the defensive side of the ball. And that's what Real Muto is. He is not only a good hitter, he is a good catcher. And I think when he was with Miami, he was known for when he was with Miami, he really was a good defender. And then when he came to Philadelphia, he really worked on his hitting. But at the same time, he was still working on his catching. And his defense has only improved, and his offense has only improved since he's got to Philadelphia. And I'm telling you what, the Phillies, you are getting one heck of a player back. You are getting, in my opinion, probably a top 5 catcher, if not maybe a top 3 catcher in the MLB right now. You're getting him back. You got him locked up for another 5 years. And how this could shake up the NL East, I'm telling you what. NL East fans, if I was a Mets fan, if I was a National fan, if I was a Braves fan today, I would be a little worried about this Nationals team. Because when JT Realmuto's on fire and Bryce Harper's on fire and their pitching's on fire, this by far you could say is one of the better teams in the league when they catch fire. We all know as Yankees fans, you've got a very good manager in Girardi. You've got a very good lineup. You've got a very good pitching rotation. I am telling you what, this Phillies team is going to be scary good this season if they are on. Now, when this team's off, when Harper's in that slump, they struggle. But if this team can build consistency, that's been the one problem with this Phillies team. Not Real Muto. Real Muto has been consistent. But the one problem with this Phillies team has been consistency. There will be times where they're on a 7-game win streak, and then they'll go on a 5-game losing streak. They can't build that sense of consistency. They win 2 games, and they lose 3. They lose 1 more than they win 1. They can't build consistency. That's what happens with this team a lot. This team bends late in the season, I've noticed. Like, even last year, they were leading the NL East. A lot of people have been making a run in the playoffs. Then all of a sudden, they fell off the face of the earth, and they missed the playoffs last season. No one saw that coming. Halfway through the year, if you would have told me the Phillies weren't going to make the playoffs, I would have thought you were crazy. And the Phillies missed the playoffs because they bended and broke late in the year. It wasn't because of injuries. It wasn't because of, injuries. It was just because of inconsistency. And I wouldn't even say it's bad performances. It's just not able to come together as a team fully. And, you're getting a guy that's consistent back. And that's what the Phillies need. They need as much consistency as they get because this team, the past couple of years, even like 3 years ago, the Phillies were at top of the NL East the entire year. The final month and a half, 2 months of the season, they just fell downhill and they missed the playoffs. I mean, the past couple of seasons for the Phillies, they got off to hot starts and they just can't finish the season the way they started. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm telling you what. The Phillies are getting one heck of a player back. So, like I said, I want to read some of the numbers. I want to read this article, And then, some of that stuff. And then the contract stuff as well. And then just my final stuff there. And then we'll get into NBA rankings. So, report JT Realmuto, Phillies agreed to 5-year, $155.5 million contract in free agency. The Philadelphia Phillies have agreed to a 5-year, $115.5 million contract with catcher JT Realmuto, according to MLB's Craig Mish and John Heyman. Realmuto, with an AAV of $23.1 million, is the highest ever for a major league catcher in baseball history. So AAV is average annual salary, so that's what he's going to be getting, or average annual value, so that's what he's going to be getting a year. So he's getting $23.1 a year, it looks like, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the highest in baseball history. So this deal, and I said a lot of these deals in all sports have broke records. This is just another deal that's broke records, and he deserves every penny of it. Per The Athletic's John Stark, the contract includes deferred money. More on Realmuto's contract per sources. Of his $20 million salary for 2021, half is deferred to help Phillies with the pandemic cash flow issues. He'd earned the same amount of $23.875 million in each of the final 4 years. Heyman noted Realmuto's deal includes a $1 million assignment clause if he's traded. Stark reported January 15th the Phillies had put a 5-year offer worth slightly north of $100 million on the table that aligns with hiring of Dave Dombrowski as president of baseball operations. Since Dombrowski's recipe for success is pretty straightforward, spend a lot of money on proven talent. Philadelphia acquired Realmuto from the Miami Marlins in February 2019, sending Jorge Alfaro, Sixto Sanchez, and Will Stewart to Miami in trade. It was a part of a big offseason for the Phillies, who signed Bryce Harper to a 13-year, $330 million contract. Things didn't go according to plan as the Phillies finished the 19 season fourth in the National League East at 81-81. Realmuto largely delivered through, though. He batted .275 with a career-high .493 slugging percentage, 25 home runs, and 83 RBIs. His 5.7 WAR ranked first among all catchers. In addition to his production at the plate, the two-time All-Star was one of the league's best defensive catchers. I said that obviously early on in the podcast, how he's been a very, very, very good defensive catcher. He does it on both sides of the ball. He's not one of these guys that can only play defense, or he's not one of these guys that can only play offense. That's when you know you're getting a good catcher, and that's when you know you should give the guy the money. Is because a lot of times catchers are you could say this about almost any position, is sometimes guys might be better at defense better than offense. Or there's sometimes that it's a complete gap. There's some guys that are insane at defense and just absolutely terrible at offense. There's a lot of catchers out there. I mean, you could say Gary Sanchez, just use him as a local example with the Yankees, obviously. Just use him as a New York sports example. You could use Gary Sanchez as an example. A couple years ago, he was taking the league by storm with all of his home runs, all of his RBIs. Last season, he was terrible at both defense and catching. But a couple years ago, we can all agree his offense was insane. I mean, he made the All-Star game. You can't really argue about it. He was very good, but his defense was terrible. As his defense has gotten, and now his defense maybe improved a little bit, but now his catching terrible. So you really can't make the comparison. But there's definitely guys out there, like a guy like a Judge. His defense is amazing. His hitting's been good when he's healthy. When he's not healthy, obviously, sometimes if he's battling an injury or things like that, he's been off the field. But that's a guy like their Judge. He's a great hitter and a great defender. That's almost like a Realmuto in his case. Guy can hit, guy can field. LeMahieu, great hitter, great defender. To use maybe an example from another team other than the Yankees, I didn't use any from the Mets, but to go away from New York sports or something, you could go ahead and say, let me think. You could say Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. You could say the guy has won a Gold Glove award every year of his career, and he's been an excellent hitter. You could say a guy like that. Ronald Acuna has had an excellent year last year in right field and stuff, and he's been an excellent year. One of the best power hitters in the MLB. So there's a lot of guys out there like that. Then there's also some guys, like I mentioned, that might be better at defense than offense. But there's definitely you don't find too many of them out there. You don't find too many of them. Voigt's a guy like that could definitely be out there. There's definitely some guys out there that are very, very, very good at one. Like a Clint Frazier, he would probably be a guy. He's probably a better hitter than a defender, I would go ahead and say. There's that. I mean, it's a mix. It's really whatever you are. It's not what you put more work into. It's just sometimes just how your body is. Some guys are just better hitters and better defenders. That's why the American League there's a DH. Because sometimes if a guy is struggling on defense but dominating on hitting wise, you can put him at DH. Or if he just needs a day off. But there's a mix. There's some guys out there that are great hitters and defenders, and there's some guys out there that are one or the other. I would say the league's about split. I would say. But Real Muto is one of the guys that can do both sides of the ball really well. The two-time All-Star was one of the league's best defensive catchers. Read that. Okay, so according to Baseball Prospectus, he was fourth in adjusted fielding runs above average, 20.4, and eighth in framing runs, 10.5. Realmuto was his usual self during the abbreviated 2020 season. He had 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, and a 266, 349, and 491 slash line. His 1.7 WAR tied for second among catchers. The 29-year-old set a career high and weighted on base average 361. So like I said in his first year with the Phillies, he put up career numbers. Last season, he only did better in those career numbers. So he was great there. His slash line was amazing. And like I said, he's probably a top 5, top 3 catcher in the league. His 1.7 WAR was tied second in catchers. That's top 3 in the league. So right there. Or that's tied for second among catchers. So right there, he is definitely up there for one of the best catchers in the league. And I think he could possibly be up there for the best. Realmuto also sat 11th in Baseball Prospects catcher's defense adjustment metric, living up to his reputation as one of the MLB's best all-around catchers. Thanks partially to their awful bullpen, the Phillies finished third in the National League East with 28-32 and missed the playoffs. Even though postseason expansions lowered the bar for teams to qualify, as with any catcher in his late 20s, there's a long-term concern about Realmuto's future at the position. He played sporadically at first base with the Marlins and got 4 games there with the Philadelphia Phillies. With Philadelphia in 2019 per Baseball Reference. As much as the 2020 campaign can provide any insight, his usage differed from the norm as he caught 36 games while playing first on the 6 occasions. He was a DH in 9 games as well. But that obviously more than likely is not going to be the case this season because they will more than likely be just going back to DH and AL, no DH in NL. A full-time move to first base or DH might beckon on the future, but that shouldn't need to happen anytime soon on how well Realmuto continues to defend. He made at least 125 starts for the 5th straight season in 2019, so durability isn't a question mark. Like I said, every catcher, that's a concern, no matter how old you are. But he is in his late 20s, so catching might be. But it's a 5-year deal. Let's just say by the 4th year there, he might struggle at catching a little bit. You still got 4 great years out of him. Then you switch into, maybe first base or something, right? So I wouldn't be concerned. I don't even think there's nothing concerning about this deal other than it could completely go left. But I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, he's one of the best all-around and consistent catchers in the league. That's why you gave the guy the money. Like, you could think of a whole different things that could go, you could think of a whole different things. Oh, what if this guy does this? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if he, what if? But you got to just focus on, what he's done. He's been one of the best all-around catchers in the MLB. The Phillies still presumably want to contend in 2021, so letting Realmuto walk wouldn't have made much sense. Speaking with reporters in October, managing pitcher John Middleton didn't rule out his return, but offered a cryptic comment about his possibility. Can you tell me blah, 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 blah. That's just something, John, that's something, I don't know, his managing partner something said, so I'm not really going to read that because that doesn't have much there. While it shouldn't have factored too much into the final decision, failing to retain Realmuto would have meant the team had almost nothing left to show for losing Sanchez, who looks to be a valuable long-term piece in Miami's rotation. Between bringing Dombrowski aboard and authorizing the contract put forward to Realmuto, Middleton is clearly looking to capitalize on the Phillies' championship window. So, you've got, in Philly right now, you've got about 2 stars in that team. Harper and 2 main guys, right? You got Harper and Realmuto. I mean, there's some others. But yeah, so I just want to look at the stats here of Realmuto here. Let's get those up here. Alrighty, so let's get them up here. So his stats here. JT Realmuto stats. Boom, here we go. All right, so JT Realmuto's stats. So like I said, obviously very good catcher. I'm just gonna read some of his stats, and I'm gonna want to read some of his career stats as well because I just want to show you how good he has been since he joined the Phillies. You know that since it's almost, I don't like I said, it's something about Philly, something about wearing that uniform has just completely put him over the top. I mean, the guy has just been unbelievable at almost every aspect of the game. So his 2020 stats, I know I read this earlier, but I kind of just want to go into it again. 2020 stats, had 173 at-bats, 266 batting average, 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, and an OPS of 840. His career stats have been 2,699 at-bats, 278 batting average, 94 home runs, or 95 home runs, 358 RBIs, 44 stolen bases, and OPS of 783. The guy is obviously later 20s, but obviously he's still pretty young. Obviously 278. That batting average really sticks out to me. If you can hit in the 270s, 280s, you're very consistent. You're a solid hitter. That's how I look at it. And if you look at it, if you look at how it goes, look at this, boom, 20. When he was with he's played more games. He played the most amount of games in his career with the Phillies in 2019. He had more runs, he had more at bats, he had more hits, he had more doubles, he had the same amount of triples, he had more home runs, he had more RBIs. And if you look at the numbers, he's improved every year of his career. Obviously, it was only a 60-game season, so those stats obviously are slightly different. But still, if you look at it, first year he had 9 RBIs, second year 47, then 48, then 65, then 74. Then he got to the Phillies, 83, then last season at 32 because it was only a 60-game season. So if you look at it, each year since he's gone here, he's improved. And even his strikeout numbers, they were a little higher, but that's also because he had more at-bats. And you look at the batting average, his slugging percentage and all that stuff. Even his slugging percentage was up there. His batting average, just things like that, are just so good. Ever since he's joined the Phillies, his numbers, his defense, his hitting has gone so much better. And great. I mean, like I said, I don't know what more to say about how good this guy really is. He's so good. I mean, he's good on almost every single aspect of the game. I mean, the guy's dominant. So great move for the Philadelphia Phillies, getting back another excellent player. And it's going to be really good to see what happens there. So, coming up next, I'm going to give you my NBA MVP rankings, tell you who I think right now are the top 5 players with the best chance and what I think should have the best opportunity to win the MVP. Coming up next. Alrighty, so let's get this up here. Alrighty, so alright, so here we go. So the obviously NBA has started up. Obviously, it's Nets are 11-8, so they're 19 games into the season. After today, there'll be 20 games in the season, so we're just about the 20 game in mark, which would mean after that we only have 52 more games to go. So it's crazy how we're already 20 games into the season. It is crazy how fast it is flying. But we are, and the NBA season, I would say there's been a couple post moments, but that's expected. I would say for the most part, it's been a pretty smooth season to start. I mean, it hasn't been as smooth. There's definitely been some bumps, but for the most part, it's been a pretty successful season, I would say, currently. So, yeah, so obviously, there's always storylines in any NBA season, and not just NBA. You could say this about the MLB. You could say this about the NFL. You could say about the NHL. You could say about the NBA. You could say about any sport. You could say about golf if you want to watch golf. But you could say about almost any sport out there. You can name your 5 players that are the best players in the league, or in this situation, you can name your 5 players who you think should win MVP. So right now, I'm going to kind of give you, if today would be the day they would have to decide on the MVP of the NBA season, I would give you these 5 players. Now, I'm not going to give you the order. I'm going to give you the order. I'm going to give you why. I'm definitely going to read the stats because I don't just want to say this player here and not read the stats, because I did put these guys in order based on the eye test and the stats. Like I said, I go through, how do I rank players? How do I rank teams? 80% of it's more than likely the stats. The other 20 is the eye test. So I still look at the eye test. I still got to do what this guy does on the court, because I also want to see, if this guy, let's just say, I don't know, let's just say I see playing, say he's a little lazy. Let's say he doesn't get back on defense. That stuff won't go into the stat sheet. But in my opinion, that's a big deal of how you get into the MVP. If you're lazy, if you're not getting back on defense, if you're, not trying hard enough, you're not going to win MVP, in my opinion. So some of it's the eye test. Most of it's the stats, because stats don't lie. Eye test could be anyone. You could say some guy's lazy, the other person cannot. You really can't debate. That's the one thing in sports. Everything's opinionated, but you really can't debate on stats, because you can't go ahead. If the stats say this guy's putting up 30 points a game, you can't say, no, that's not true. Well, yes, it is. That is true. You could debate about opinion, sure. If I say player 1 the best, if I say player 1 is the best guy ever to step on a sports field, but you say player 2 is, well, you could read up the stats, stuff like that. So that's the stuff. So I'm going to give you the numbers because I want to show you. I kind of went off of stats and the eye test here. So my number 1 player you might not like, and I will admit I try to be as fair as I can be, but I put my number 1 player as a player that I've talked about so much on this podcast. And he's a player that I really like. As a matter of fact, I don't want to give it away. But if you look at the numbers, this is what I got. So, I'm going to give you the 5 players. Let me get up the stats here for each player. Or let me just get up this thing here. So, NBA MVP rankings. I'm going to give you number 5 to number 1. And we'll start off like this. So, let me just get this up here. So, boom. Boom. All right, so here we go. Okay, so we're going to start this off. I'm going to give you the 5 players, tell you each one. I'm not going to go through the 5s and tell you, break it down. I'm going to go one by one. Starting at 5, then go to 1, so I can leave you on a little bit of a cliffhanger here. Here we go. NBA MVP rankings right now. Here we go. Number 5, I have Stephen Curry. Now, a lot of people might go ahead and say he's number 1. People might say, I've seen some lists that he's not even in the top 5. I've seen some lists. For the most part, I've seen lists where he's not in the top 5. I've seen a lot of lists where Kawhi Leonard is. I'm going to tell you right now, I did not put Kawhi Leonard in here. Curry was in for Kawhi. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything about the other 4 players. But I put Stephen Curry here at number 5. And I'm a lot of people think, and I don't say this too much on the podcast, but a lot of people think I'm not a big fan of Stephen Curry or I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't so much that I'm not a big fan of him as much as, I'm not a huge fan of Stephen Curry. I'm not a guy that's going to sit here and talk all about Stephen Curry. Oh, this guy's so good. I'm going to go out and buy his jersey. I want to meet the guy. I want to get his signature. I'm going to bring him on the show. Like, I'm not that about Stephen Curry. I'm also not like everything he does is terrible. I can't stand Russell Westbrook. I'm not like that with Stephen Curry. Is he my favorite player? No. Do I like him? Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but I don't hate him. He's right about in the middle. I really don't have much feelings for him. I just think at times people might slightly overrate him. When people call him the best player in the NBA, I don't think that's true. When people call him a top 10 of all time, I don't think that's true. When people call him one of the best all-around basketball players ever to step on a court, I don't think that's true. A lot of times people I feel like forget about Michael Jordan. I think a lot of people have forgotten about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is one of the best athletes ever. I mean, the guy is just insane. So we're going to get off of that. But Stephen Curry this season has had an amazing year. He's been amazing so far. And what I have liked about Stephen Curry so far is, well, number one, the Warriors haven't been excellent. We can all agree on that. They're like, I don't know exactly what the record is right now, but they're not amazing. They're around the 500 to just above 500 mark. They haven't been amazing this season yet. I mean, we can all agree on that. They just haven't been. They're right now 9-8 on the season. They're right now 9-8 on the season. They just are fresh off of a win on Monday against the Timberwolves, a 130-108 win, in which Stephen Curry had 36 points and shot 58.3% from the three-point line. Now, that is one of the things I wanted to really say. This season, Stephen Curry has done a really good job. He has shot it at a very high clip. This season, his overall field goal percentage so far has been 45.8. His career is 47.6. And his three-point percentage this year has been a 39.2, which isn't amazing, but he's also attempting about 2 more threes than he usually does throughout his career. Throughout his career, about actually 3 more threes. Throughout his career, he's attempted about 8.3 threes a game. So just about 8 threes a game. This year he's putting up 11. So that's about 3 more than he usually does in his average of his career. So he's putting up a lot more threes and he's still shooting as a high clip. Another thing I know about Stephen Curry, and I've been a big person in this, that I don't think Stephen Curry is so much the guy that's going to go out there and lead a team to a championship. I do think Kevin Durant was a big reason why the Warriors won a championship. And if you don't believe me, well, the season the Cavs made the 3-1 comeback was the season before Kevin Durant got there. Once Kevin Durant got there, the Cavs couldn't even get past them. They bumped into him. It was nothing. It was nothing. It was like a piece of grass bumping into a brick wall. It was nothing. And they couldn't get stopped. They couldn't get past them. So a lot of people obviously got into that. But Stephen Curry this season's had an amazing year. And he's taking not a great team. You don't got many players. I mean, Andrew Wiggins has really upset this year. He hasn't had a very good year. You're taking a not-so-good team, and he's turned it into a competent basketball team that's been 9-8 and are getting wins. Now, do I think they're going to win the finals? No. Do you think they might make the playoffs? Yeah, maybe as an 8-7 seed. They're definitely not going far in the playoffs, I don't think. But he's taking a team that is definitely not nearly as talented as they were 3 years ago and in a way putting them on his back and really, 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 really moving on. And you could say that there's a second star on this team. There's not really a second star on this team. Some people have said Wiggins is. Some people have said, Draymond Green is. Some people have said, Wiseman is. Some people have said Oubre is. Some people have said multiple players. Really, it's Curry on this team, and that's really it. So his stats this season is 28.4 points per game. That's 4th in the NBA. 5.5 rebounds. That's tied 80th in the NBA. And assists, that's 6th in the NBA, which 6 assists per game. That's tied 17th in the NBA. So you look at the numbers, he's top 5 in points per game, which I think is big. When you talk about MVPs and stuff, I think points per game is big. It's just, I think to put him over the edge, to maybe me to put him on the top of my list, I think would to be put him maybe like if I wanted to put him at a number 3 or something, would be for him to get his assist numbers up. Rebounds, he's a point guard, he's not going to be getting much rebounds. But what I do love is the way he's been shooting the ball, the way he's been getting clutch shots. I really believe he's been way more clutch this season. He's had couple big point games, and there's been a couple games where they've definitely knocked off the underdog. They've definitely beat him. I mean, there's been a couple of games here where, they obviously beat the Lakers. No one saw that coming. He obviously had a big game. He obviously had 26 points. So, he's obviously, 28.4 points per game, I think, is very good. He's only about 2 points away from putting up 30, which is an incredibly hard thing to do. So, number 5, Stephen Curry. Number 4, I have LeBron James. Now, every year, I think LeBron James is always going to be in the conversation. Whether that is, whether that's, MVP or, whatever it is, every year LeBron's in some sort of conversation, whatever it is. Most improved, usually not, because he's usually having a good year every year. It's not like he has a down year that comes back and played really well. But I would say, really throughout his career, he's just been dominant. Again, he's been dominant. He's having another excellent season. And this is a guy this year that has had a very good year, that has played very, very well. The reason I put him at number 4 is just because he's had a couple I shouldn't say questionable games, but he's definitely had a couple games where he hasn't been his best. But what I really do like about LeBron is that he's been really able to spread the ball around. He's been getting rebounds. He's been getting assists. He's been really able to stretch the floor, get points. He obviously had a big game the other day. Here's the one thing that I think limits him back, and I know a lot of people always focus on the points per game aspect of things, and the reason I put LeBron in front of Curry is because LeBron's got more points and assists, and I think if you look at the eye test, LeBron has a lot of hustle plays. No one's going to talk about, LeBron saving the ball from going out of bounds. No one's going to talk about LeBron making a good pass to his teammate. No one's going to talk about the fact that LeBron, KCP is one of the highest shooting three-point percentages in the NBA right now. I think he has the highest. No one's going to talk about that half the time it's LeBron James assisting him. LeBron is getting his teammates involved more than ever. And that's saying something because as you get as an old age, and LeBron's body's still in great shape, as you get to an older age and you can't put up 35 a night every game, you need to rely on other things. You need to rely on your closer shot. You need to rely on driving and finishing. You need to rely on passing. You need to rely on your teammates to do great things. You need to do some things. That's why everyone always says, if you're out of your prime, because sometimes your prime might be stepping back, shooting a three every time. Well, now that you might be, LeBron is, I'm LeBron, and it seems like it seems like he's still in his prime. But it is really true, though, that you could really say that. LeBron obviously has had an excellent year this year and had an excellent year last year, and he's continuing. And like I said, I think every year he's got to at least be on the list of guys that are going to win MVP. And, I think voter fatigue does have some to say in it because, a lot of times he's always in it. So I think voter fatigue's on there. But LeBron James, without a doubt, is definitely on here. I think he's the second best player of all time. 25.2 points per game, that's 14th in the NBA. 7.9 rebounds per game, that's 26th in the NBA. 7.4 assists per game, that's 7th in the NBA. So not too many top 10 stats other than the assists. But like I said, he does have a lot of hustle plays. And surprisingly, this season for LeBron, he's shot at a high clip. He's almost shooting 50% a game. His career's been 50.4% a game. It's just the whole free throws thing. He's just got to be slightly better at that. He's not a great free throw shooter. He's just not a great free throw shooter. He's never been. But definitely he's been shooting at a high clip this season. I think that's pretty huge. So LeBron James, 25.2 points per game. That's 14th in the league. 7.9 rebounds. That's 26th in the league. Assists, 7.4. That is 7th in the league. And LeBron James, number 4. And like I said, not even if he wasn't even had a great year, I don't think you can leave LeBron off an MVP list. I think there's always going to be LeBron there. So number 4, LeBron James. Number 3, I have Joel Embiid. Now, a lot of people, this is where a lot of people might, go haywire here and completely disagree with me here. Embiid, I think we can all agree, he's by far had probably one of the best years of his career this season, without a doubt. He's had one of the best years of his career this entire season. He's obviously, a lot of people think he's the favorite for the MVP, to win MVP. I think that's definitely a possibility. Here's the one thing with Embiid. I think he's a great player. It's just, I'm a big guy in basketball. I'm all for you going out there and putting up 40 points a game, going out there putting up 40 points. But I like players who share the ball, who pass the ball, who get assists. That's why I like LeBron and the way he plays. I just read the stat. He's 7th in the NBA in assists per game. He's got 7.4 assists per game. He's 7th in the league with that category. So I like players who share the ball. And I understand Joel Embiid is a big man, and he's been, balling this season and all that stuff. And I understand that. And I understand that he's top 5 in points per game and top 10 in rebounds per game. I get it. But his assists, he's 88th in the NBA in assists. And if you say big man can't get assists, well, my next player, I'm going to prove you wrong by that. Okay? Big man can still get an assist. And I understand a lot of times when Embiid gets it, he just wants to put it up. And I understand that. But a big part of a lot of these players' games are assists. When you get your teammate involved, it's by assisting them. You're not getting your teammates involved by shooting the ball. That's the one thing I think holding me back from putting Embiid at a number 1 or a number 2 is the assist. If he gets that assist up to a 5-6 a game, sure, he might be my number 1, but currently number 3. If you look at the other numbers, though, it's fascinating. This guy is having one of the best years of his career. 27.7 points per game, that's 5th in the NBA. 11.5 rebounds per game, that's 7th in the NBA, so he's averaging a double-double a game, and 2.7 assists, that's 88th in the NBA. That's my only problem with him. And like I said, a lot of people might disagree, but I think you could tell a whole lot about a player just looking at his assists. Because I'm a big guy, and if you want to become a good team, if you want to work together as a team, you got to share the basketball. And that's been my problem with Curry at times, is he doesn't always share the basketball. It's been my problem with Westbrook. I know he gets a lot of triple-doubles, but a lot of times that's garbage time assists. It's times where, he's already put up 35 points, let me just get my teammates involved. And you actually see about it. Each year he's with a team, his teammates' stats go down. Bradley Beal his stats have been amazing. He's first in the league in points per game. But he's having a good year. But you see, there's a common theme with Russell Westbrook. Whenever he joins a team, that team just goes south. He joined the Rockets, team went south. Joined the Thunder, team went south. When he was with the Thunder. He's obviously... No, I shouldn't say he joined when he was with the Thunder, he was really good, obviously. But when Paul George got there in the Thunder, his tail ended with his time with the Thunder there. They didn't do well. He went with the Rockets. That thing got messed up. Now he's with the Wizards. They're struggling. Embiid's a good teammate. Just got to get the assist up. But this season he's played really well. His field goal percentage is 55.4, shooting at the highest clip of his career, which is amazing. And he averages about 3.5 3-pointers a game. He's only averaging about 3 3-pointers a game. He's making about 40% of those, so you can't really go off of that. But even the big man's free throw, I think that's a big too. He's even his free throw. He's a good player. Just the assists is a big part of where I want to put guys. So number 3 is Joel Embiid. Number 2, I have Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets. And what did I say about big man not getting assists? Last I checked, Nikola Jokic was a 6'11" big man center for the Denver Nuggets. Last I checked. He might have switched to point guard the other day, but last I checked, he is a 6'11" big man. So for all those people out there who think that big men aren't assist guys, this is why I'm putting Jokic in front of Embiid. The numbers show. He averages more rebounds a game, and he averages way more assists per game. As a matter of fact, about 7 more assists per game. Embiid's just around the 2 mark, and Nikola Jokic's got 9.3. Embiid's got about 2.7. Jokic's got 9.3. That's about 7 more. Jokic is 3rd in the NBA in that category. That is why I'm putting Jokic in front of Embiid. I said this. Big man can get assists. You cannot sit here and tell me that big men aren't guys that are going to go out and load up the assists. He can get assists. Jokic is showing us that. He is a 6'11" big man. He is not a point guard. He is not a shooting guard. He is not a power forward. He is a big man, and he is getting all these assists. This is a guy who has had more triple-doubles I have seen out of a big man than ever. This is a guy who almost every single time down the court is making an impact, whether that goes into the stat book or whether that is not in the stat book. He's making impacts every time, whether that's setting a screen, whether that's setting up his players, whether that's talking to him, whatever the case may be. This guy is only 26 years old and has turned into an insane monster in this league. He has dominated. And this is a guy who came into the league as not too heavily known. He was picked in 2014, round 2, 41st pick in the draft. Later in the draft, picked by the Denver Nuggets. Not many people took a chance on him. He was overweight. He didn't look like he was ready for the NBA. And he's gotten himself into shape. He's trained so much, and he's gotten himself into MVP level. And right now, this season, he's averaging 25.4 points per game. That's 13th in the NBA. 11.9 rebounds per game. That's 6th in the NBA. 9.3 assists per game. That's 3rd in the NBA. But centers can't get assists. Yes, they can. He's got the 3rd most assists in the NBA. The guy's averaging a double-double game. 0.7 assists away from averaging a triple-double game. He's gotten so many triple-doubles, and it's just insane. And his last game, he had 10 rebounds and 20 points. He only had 4 assists, but he still had 10 rebounds and 20 points. And I've seen him play against the Nets, and he was just draining shots. And this is a guy that's very talented. His team's on a 4-game win streak right now, fresh off a win against the Mavericks. This is a guy who is dominant on both sides of the court. And another guy, too, who is shooting it at a high clip. 56.3% field goal percentage this season. and another big man who is shooting it well from the free throw line. Dominant player, 56.3% field goal percentage. And that's not just layups. I've seen him shoot mid-range. I've seen him extend it. He's been very good. Nikola Jokic, number 2. And number 1, I know a lot of people might think I'm crazy with this, but I do have Kevin Durant number 1. And here's my reason why. Again, I'm not doing this just because he's with the Nets. I'm not doing that because of that. First off, this is a guy who's second in the league in points per game. Only behind, obviously, like I said earlier, Bradley Beal. If you look, like I said, I'm about 80% stats, 20%, obviously the eye test. Here's my thing with Kevin Durant. I think he's an excellent player. I've seen him play every game this season. I've seen every Nets game this season. What makes me put him at number 1 is the fact that this guy's coming off of a torn Achilles. And everyone this entire offseason was saying, KD, he's not going to be able to do it. It's a torn Achilles, one of the worst injuries ever. He's not going to be able to do it. All the people, the media, the people, even me at times, I said, I want to see how he does. And he is proving everyone wrong. All the media out there, he's proving everyone wrong. He has been dominating this season, and KD is back to being KD. And he has been able to get his teammates involved. He's been an excellent defender, and a guy who is coming off missing one whole season has been dominant in almost every aspect of the game. This is a guy who is second in points per game at 30.4, 7.6 rebounds per game, which is 35th in the NBA, and 5.8 assists per game, which is 23rd in the NBA. Like I said, 7.6 rebounds for a power forward for a guy who shoots a lot is pretty gosh darn good. And this is a guy who has a lot of double-doubles, is coming off of yet another double-digit rebound game. He had 13 rebounds last game, and he had 5 assists. He's had a couple triple doubles. This is a guy who's shooting 44.6 3-point percentage, and his field goal percentage is 51.8. That is 2% higher than his usual career. He is putting up career numbers coming off of a torn Achilles. If that doesn't tell you why he should be the MVP, then I don't know what does. And a big reason because of the Achilles. He's coming off of this, and he's playing at some of the best basketball of his career. This is the highest shooting percentage he's ever had here. Field goal percentage. He's been dominating, and he's been able to get his team some big wins. Kevin Durant, number 1. So my list is Stephen Curry, number 5. Number 5, Stephen Curry. Number 4, LeBron James. Number 3, Joel Embiid. Number 2, Nikola Jokic. And number 1, Kevin Durant. And that right now is my MVP rankings. Comment down below your MVP rankings, or if you agree or disagree with mine. If you agree with mine, then say that. And then if you want to write down yours, then you can as well. I would love to hear that. Write down yours. Give me your top 5 players who should win MVP right now. So, here we go. All right, so, all right, so college basketball. Yesterday, Auburn won, Dayton won, Oklahoma won, and Tennessee won. Kentucky lost yesterday, 70-59. We moved to 5-10 on the season. Like I said early on in the podcast, it's not looking great for us here. We got to find a way to get better here and figure out a way to get some wins because our schedule coming up is not easy. We had that game. We were looking good in that game, and then we were winning with just a little bit left to go in that game, and we just got manhandled down the stretch. We just got beat there, so we got to get better. And today's game, we got Florida State. Miami give Florida State the win. Creighton, Seton give Creighton the win. Ohio State, Penn State give Ohio State the win. Baylor, Kansas State give Baylor the win. Clemson, Louisville give Clemson the win. And Wisconsin, Maryland give Wisconsin the win. And as for NBA, yesterday the Jazz won, the Rockets won, and the Hawks won. Today we got the Magic, Kings give Magic the win, Hornets, Pacers give Pacers the win, Cavs, Pistons give Cavs the win, Bucks, Raptors give Bucks the win, Lakers, 76ers give Lakers the win, Nuggets, Heat give Nuggets the win, Spurs, Celtics give Celtics the win, Jazz, Mavericks give Jazz the win, Suns, Thunder give Suns the win, Pelicans, Wizards give Pelicans the win, and Warriors, Timberwolves give Warriors the win. And the Nets also play today. The Nets come in this game 11-8. The Hawks come in this game 9-8. The Nets are 6.5-point favorites. The over/under is 238.5 for this game. This game comes on at today at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Yes Network. So this should be a good game. I give the Nets a win. I think they continue to ride here. Harden, Kyrie, KD have all been connecting well, so it's looked pretty good. Defense played really good last game. Hawks are also on a second half of a back-to-back, so we'll see how that goes. I give the Nets the win here. And as for the NHL game picks, yesterday the Blues won, the Avalanche won, Ducks won, Maple Leafs won, Stars won, Predators won, Kings won, Jets won, Bruins won, Panthers won, Flyers won, and Capitals won. The Rangers also lost yesterday, 3-2. We moved to 1-4-1 on the season. Like I said, blew another lead. Got off to a good start, just couldn't hang on there. Keandre Miller and Kreider were the goal scorers. We just got to find a way to be better. I mean, this has not been a good start to the season, and the Islanders as well. I mean, Semyon Varlamov has had some really good games. Yesterday wasn't one of them. The Capitals are rolling right now, though. But the Nets got to find. The Rangers got to find a way to be better, because this is not a good. When we've been able to hold on to some of these leads, and it's just blowing leads. 4 straight games. All those games, 4 straight games that we have lost. 4-game losing streak. All 4 of those games have been by 1 goal. 3 of those games we've blown leads. So we got to figure out a way. 4 games that we've lost by 1 goal. Got to get better here. And today we got the Predators. Blackhawks give Predators a win, and Canucks Senators give Canucks the win. And as for the fantasy stuff, right now in fantasy basketball, I am losing 483 to 335. Tonight I've got Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Davis, Miles Turner, Kyrie Irving, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Kemba Walker going. And my bench is Jimmy Butler, Jonas Valanciunas, and Victor Oladipo. Anthony Davis is day-to-day. Davis' ankle is questionable for Wednesday's game against the Sixers. Jovan Baha of The Athletic reports. Pascal Siakam is also day-to-day. Siakam knee is considered questionable for Wednesday's game against the Bucks. Blake Murphy of The Athletic reports. And Jimmy Butler's out. Butler COVID-19 protocols has been ruled out for Wednesday's game against the Nuggets. Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press reports, so he is still out, and Valanciunas is still out. Valanciunas' COVID-19 protocols, and the Grizzlies will not play Wednesday against the Bulls after the game was postponed, so they are still out there. That's my lineup there, and for my fantasy hockey league, I am currently winning 35.9 to 35.3, so I'm winning there, and I've got going today, I got Brock Beausier, Ryan Ellis, and Duncan Keith. And I've got Jamie Benn is day-to-day. Ben, lower body, is expected to take part in Thursday's game day skate, after which a decision will be made on his status against Detroit. Mike Heike of the Stars official site reports. So he will be, looks like, practicing tomorrow and see if they will play on the skate tomorrow and see if they'll play. And Nicholas Backstrom as well. His day-to-day. Backstrom went to the locker room in the third period and did not return to Tuesday's game versus the Islanders. Samantha Pell of the Washington Post reports. So we'll see what happens there as well. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Obviously, it was another really good podcast. A lot of good sports news, obviously. Tomorrow we'll be talking about, obviously, other stuff if any other news came out. I have a pretty good feeling from what I've heard that Bauer's going to sign a contract soon. I'm not saying it's going to be with the Mets. I'm just saying I think he's going to sign it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he signs it today, tomorrow, or sometime this week, because things are starting to heat up around him, and with spring training right around the corner, pitchers and catchers reporting, I have an odd feeling, without a doubt. A lot of these free agents are starting, Simeon even signed the other day, and the Yankees signed someone today, so there's been a lot of good news there, but, like I said, if there's any big breaking news, obviously that's what I'll talk about and some other topics as well. So, yeah, so that's what I got for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Another great podcast. Another great sports night tonight. A lot of good sports on today, so that should be good. But yeah, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.